Hey noble ones, welcome back to Metatron's Academy. Today we are continuing our journey and adventure through all the different varieties of Spanish with all its different accents and countries that speak it as a first language. And today we're looking into Venezuelan Spanish because we have done Argentinian, we've done Chilean, and I'm really curious to see how much we can understand as a native Italian speaker, and also if I can spot some differences. And of course, as always, you'll find a link in the description. Please go check out the original creators. But anyways, on this video, they are interviewing some people in Venezuela. Let's see if I can tell a difference there.
Siento que hay dos Venezuelas. Hay una que es donde hay pobreza, una hay escasez, los sueldos no alcanzan, mientras que hay otra que las personas viven felizmente, pueden hacer su mercado.
¿Cómo describiría usted la vida en Venezuela?
Bueno, chévere, un caos, más o menos.
A ver, ¿cómo que un caos? ¿A qué se refiere?
I don't know what un cao is, and of course I don't know where the interviewer is from, but so far I'm having a little trouble understanding what the heck is that cao.
Refiere con eso?
Bueno, un caos en el metro, las carreras, cuando uno sale del trabajo, la cuestión, todo eso.
¿Cómo describiría?
I see, so it must have to do, if you're from Venezuela, please enlighten me, but it must have to do, again, she's mentioning a few different types of public transport. Does it have to do with that? No idea.
¿Cómo estuvo la vida aquí en Venezuela?
Bueno, a mí se me hace bien, fácil y tranquila.
Fácil and tranquila is something I can understand, I think, in any variety of Spanish, easy and quiet. Because in Italian we would say facile e tranquilla. It's very, very close, isn't it? Let's see what else we can get.
Bueno, para nosotros los jóvenes es un poco fuerte.
So he said, nosotros lo joven. So he's not pronouncing his S's. Of course, he's speaking fast, but this is maybe a characteristic that I'm noticing accent might have in common with Chilean Spanish, where in my previous video, link in the description, we noticed that they tend to, I don't know if it's exactly a complete dropping of the S, or if it's a replacement with a very slight aspiration, like a very mini H. Regardless, as a non-native speaker, to me, it just sounds like he's not saying his S's. Rather than nosotros los joven, yeah, it's becoming basically all the S's are dropped. I still could recognize the words though.
Que de verdad que ahorita muy poco trabajo se consigue, y si se consigue son de poca ganancia.
I don't know what he's saying, but I'm noticing an interesting up and down in the intonation. Ta 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 ta, like a little up and down, which I don't remember from both Rioplatense, Argentine. Well, Argentinian sounds like it's singing, so please don't get me wrong, they do have it, but it sounds different. That's what I'm trying to say.
Y bueno, los que queremos un futuro mejor o superarnos, pues tener nuestras cosas, se hace costoso.
Por ejemplo,
I understood that he said to create a better future.
Por ejemplo, trabajar, a veces somos divertidos, a veces tenemos otro semblante. Por ejemplo, yo a veces no quiero trabajar o a veces...
Oh yes, I'm noticing that he says yo. And I don't think that this is just simply a characteristic of Venezuelan Spanish. I think there are several countries, the way I'm understanding through this series, we're literally learning together here, is that I'm noticing that what in Spain I think is pronounced yo tends to become yo in this variety of Spanish, and in a few others, exception being Rioplatense in Argentina, where I notice that they say sho. Correct me if I'm wrong, as always, don't want to teach wrong things to people.
Me paro y vengo con toda la emoción del mundo para el trabajo, por mis compañeros, así pues.
Yo considero que Venezuela sí tiene sus cosas positivas y sus cosas negativas, pero
Yeah, I understood everything here. She's saying she thinks that Venezuela has its positive things and its negative things, and I think this is something I would have understood once again in any variety of Spanish. So far, I believe the accent, the overall intonation, and the pronunciation don't seem to be a language barrier for me. So when I don't understand, it's probably because of slang or just because I don't know the words, which would happen in any variety of Spanish.
los venezolanos siempre buscamos el lado positivo, todo lo bonito, a pesar de las adversidades de las situaciones que hay en el país.
País, yeah, she's not pronouncing the S at the end, she's just doing this little país type of thing. So interesting. So I think when the dropping of the S happens at the end, not a problem. But when this tends to happen somewhere in between the word the words in between in the middle of a sentence, then it does become a little bit of a problem for me, which is probably why it was really hard for me to understand Chilean Spanish. So I do have to kind of correct myself and say that pronunciation can be a little bit of a problem with these varieties that tend to drop S's. Maybe a few D's as well. Are the D's being dropped too? That's what I'm noticing, because if you start dropping D's and S's, I might get confused. Maybe that's what happened when the lady was saying cow or something like that. Let's try a different video.
The Venezuelan Midwestern Spanish dialect.
Español guaro.
He did say español, so he is skipping the S. Yeah, I think there is a little doubling of the following consonant as well.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
That is so funny because once again it's a situational case-by-case scenario. Numbers are easy until you get to like 1934, then it can become a little confusing. But in general, numbers are easy, like 1 to 10, yeah, well, not a problem. But it's interesting because when he says tre, it actually just sounds like Italian because we say tre. We don't have the S in the spelling.
8, 9, 10.
And another thing I'm noticing is that it's not just the S that is dropping, but also the Z or Z, because he's not saying diez or diez, he's just saying die. So basically it's the S sound, not the S letter, that gets partially dropped. It's the sound. Intriguing, we're learning a lot.
Hola, buenos días, buenas tardes, buenas noches, chao, ¿qué más? Épale.
I don't know what que más. Oh, que más? Maybe that's why, yeah, it's probably épale. I don't know what that means. Can I see how it's written? Oh, it means hey. Cool. So another thing I'm noticing is that when it's in the middle of a word, when I say it, I mean the S, when it's in the middle of a word, it is in fact followed or replaced by what appears to be a glottal stop. So similarly to what, for example, some Cockney speakers in East London, they will go for water instead of water. It's not that they just don't pronounce the T. It's not wa, it's water. There is a little tensing of the vocal cords that creates this sound. I think it's a similar situation here.
Words and phrases.
Por dos. Voy a dormir. Voy a comer. Está crudo. Adiós. Legal. No chico. No hombre.
Oh, that was an interesting accent. No chico. Now, of course, this is specifically saying Midwestern, so I suppose not every Venezuelan speaks like this, but the way he went chico, that was very interesting, very reminiscent of some languages, including my own sometimes.
Náguara. Siécara. Vacie. Pues. École.
Vacie. I see a lengthening. There tends to be a lengthening of the A.
École qua. Amundo. Bambino.
What? Did he say bambino? Wow, I thought in Spanish was chico, bambino is Italian, so we probably share this one. Let's move to another video and let's see if we can have a Venezuelan explain a few things to us to see if I'm completely off the mark or if I'm picking up a few things.
Maura, yo quiero hablar español venezolano como tú. ¿Me enseñas? Claro, Alex, me encantaría. Vamos a ver por dónde puedo empezar.
Yeah, I understood everything. Yeah, the first speaker says, well, could you please teach me how to speak like you in a Venezuelan accent, and she says yes. Me encantaría. So I don't know the word, the expression, but incantare in Italian is to enchant, which could also be connected to charm. So in this case it must be it charms me, so it pleases me. That's how I would interpret it. We don't say it that way, but coming from an Italian perspective with commonalities between Romance languages, understanding kind of the etymology of the word, I understand it within context. And then she's saying, let's see where I can begin.
If, like Alex, you're curious about Venezuelan Spanish, would like to expand your own Spanish, or need to learn how Venezuelan...
She actually sounds a little posh when she says Spanish.
Let's listen to it a bit and then we'll talk about it.
Que ya todo el mundo dijo y tú no has dicho nada.
No,
yo he dicho varias. Yo he dicho que acabo de decir.
No. Eso no es grabado, eso no es
¿Eso no estaba grabado?
No estaba. No estaba.
Estaba.
If I have to describe what I hear, I would say it's a mix between Caribbean and snobism. The Venezuelan Spanish you heard. Like every other country, we have different cities, different regions, and that makes for very different accents within the country. Here's the map. Tenemos el Mar Caribe, la Cordillera de los Andes, la Selva Amazónica, los Llanos y también algo de desierto. And we all speak somewhat differently.
That makes sense. I mean, these Latin American countries are massive from a European perspective.
Why Caribbean? Because we might not meet the S and sometimes the D at the end of words.
I was right. It's interesting where she says we might. So it doesn't happen necessarily all the time. So it's not like a set rule. They might pronounce them, they might not. Very interesting.
La vibra y el ritmo son suaves y redondos, como la mayoría de los acentos caribeños. We also include some Spanglish here and there. De nuevo, algo muy caribeño. Why snobbish? This will depend on the Venezuelan person, of course. My family is from the capital, and for them it does mean some intent to pronounce more properly. Emphasis on the bunny ears. Además de no hablar súper rápido.
Yeah, I noticed that they don't speak as fast as the Chilean. That does make it a little easier. Still not very easy as an accent for me. It's easier to understand Argentinian or Rioplatense.
Personally, I'm from an island where people are famous for speaking fast. Así que yo soy una mezcla entre ese sonido de la capital y el de la isla. But different ears get different vibes. That's why I've asked a couple of friends from other countries to describe what they hear. Paulísima from Mexico.
Hola Maura, tal vez vayas a decir que estoy loca o que nada que ver, pero a mí en lo personal me parece que el acento venezolano suena muy parecido al acento cubano.
Well, that's interesting, but I have no idea because I've never heard a Cuba accent. How about we make that one of the next episodes?
Tal vez con un poquito de acento chileno. Lo que sí es muy cierto para mí es que definitivamente el acento venezolano suena como algo muy caribeño.
I understand. So basically, yeah, she's spotting a little bit of Chilean, which I suppose is the skipping of the S at the end and in the middle, and the D's apparently. But then she still says it sounds a lot closer to the Caribbean accent, which we also need to do someday. Well, I don't want to watch the whole video. If you do, absolutely click down below and check out this creator. She's doing a fantastic job explaining things. Anyways, my first experience with Venezuelan Spanish is that it's very, very interesting. I find it endearing, and I really like these words. I've already forgotten what the word for banana was. Well, whatever it was, cambur. Oh, cambur. That's what I'm gonna go to my wife and tell her, do we have some cambur in the kitchen today? So that's great. It was a lot of fun, and please let me know what you think. How easy or difficult was it for you to understand? For me, it was a good experience. It's still a little difficult sometimes, but I do understand it other times, and I love the fact that at least in some areas, like the capital, apparently they speak a little slower. Thank you very much, as always, for joining Metatron's Academy, and I will see you again tomorrow.